Dump it all, crypto nana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all,
Crypto nana, exit liquidity,
dump it all,
hodl nana, dump it all. From the day we arrive on the blockchain and blinking step into the trade, there's more to lose than can ever be won, more to dump than can ever be saved. Influencers, tweets, and the noobs all follow, buying high, selling low, what a game. But the boomers know, and Sailor, he knows that the dump is coming. It's all the same. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars, but the influencers always win with the Lambos and their cars. So beware of the pump and the inevitable dump, for the cycle continues and the news get wrecked. Nana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all. Crypto nana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all. Crypto nana, exit liquidity, dump it all. Hodl nana, dump it all. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Dump it all.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Appler is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart Bcashers.
And we're live.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast.
Okay, hello. Jeremy, can you speak?
Oh, I know. Hello.
Beautiful. Okay, let me just double check these. Can you speak again?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, sorry about that. We're all good to go now.
All right. Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 160, listener survey 2025. Today is Saturday, the 13th of September, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. No guest today. We were going to have David Hudman, but he's sick, so we'll catch up with him later. And we're doing the listener survey, so we've got plenty to discuss. On the price, BCH is at $600 and 76 cents, which is way up. One BTC SAT buys 192.9 BCH SATs, which is relatively flat. One ETH buys 777 megasats, so we're also up there. Selene 30-day 561 users, and the Tokenaut TVL 13,109 BCH. So no guest today. Jet, you've got to fill in a little bit of the general banter at the start. How are you doing? The listeners haven't heard from you in detail for a while. What's the latest with you?
Man, not much. I feel like I'm in this perpetual state of I need to do my day job less, and then the day job being like, we need like we need. So yeah, I've just been essentially like offline trying to sort out my schedule more than anything. Hopefully,
it's just a bit of a it's just a bit of a perpetual cycle, right? Which is where if somebody says like, oh, especially for work, that happens. Well, they say, I need you more. And then you give them more. And then they say, I need you more. And it's just going to keep going until you push back and you just say, okay, guys, I know you need me a lot, but I'm not there. So good luck with that. Like at a certain point, you have to just push back or say double my pay or like get lost, you know?
So we are at a point where it's like, I know that the shit I just spent 2.5 years building is getting like multi-million-dollar clients very interested, and we're just signing couple like deals here and there. And it's like, wait a month, wait 2 months, wait, and then we'll get the balance sheet in order, and everyone gets raises. I don't really like the money isn't that important, but it has gotten to a point with my certain coworkers where I'm like, you need to learn how to do your job better. I can't do my job and your job for you.
Well, you can, and you are, and that's why it's happening the way it's happening. But you've got to be careful with those raises. You know, that's how companies tend to be. Is they say, well, when the New Year's budget money will become available at the end of the quarter, just after this big, like at my last job, I remember it was just every 6 months. It was like, this is the one feature. If we just had this one thing, all our problems would solve. And the engineers are often in that position because the sales team and the sort of front-facing half of the company, they are operating on like day-to-day low attention spans, etc. So they're just kind of like got someone right in their face right now, and they're seeing the pot of money. If we could just give them this feature that they want, they would sign on the line and we'd all be paid and it would all be great. Of course, then the money would all, the money's always being spent anyway. But then the engineering team is the opposite. They're not ideally not sitting day to day. You obviously have to do some bug fixes, whatever, but an effective engineering team will have a large percentage of its time devoted to, we're building this thing that's going to take 4 months and we had it planned 6 months ago and now it's come on the agenda. And the more you disrupt that, the less anything meaningful gets done,
That has been the very painful like learning curve, I think, because it's been a startup and I don't think anyone in the company really has the backbone to say no. I think I've been the most rude person in the company so far, which kind of makes sense with the Big 5 test. We've talked about that before. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm excited because it's either like me and my like senior coworker have both kind of made a pact where it's like they got 3 months. And if this shit falls through, like, that's that.
All right. The internal company politics getting started. Fantastic. And amongst all that, we'll talk about it with the survey questions, but have you been following a lot of BCH? How are you feeling with where the community's at in general?
I don't like. I probably am on Telegram once a week, or when I get a message. I have avoided Twitter for quite a while. So no, I don't follow any of it, which I think is a blessing, right? Like when I got into BCH, it was like I needed to be active, and I think there's still a little bit of that. I should be more active, but like I don't feel as obligated, I guess. Like I'm doing so much already that it's just like I feel good. The culture's good, better than it's ever been. I don't feel worried about BCH. I don't feel like I have to try and moderate anything or make so much of a like independent positive impact, I guess.
Well, the more, yeah, that's the thing. Like the more it grows and the more solid it becomes, the less like it's beneficial if you want to be involved and up to date with what's going on and etc. But the less stressful it is. Of I guess there was probably points in BCH history where maybe it felt like if I quit this for 6 months and I come back, it might just be over. Like that's it. And I will not have been there for when it happened. I couldn't have done anything to save it. If I had my eye off the ball and it goes the wrong way, I will at least in part forever have myself to blame, you know?
Yeah, some of those fork wars, it's just like, am I losing all my money in the next 3 days? Like, what's going on here? But yeah, I don't feel worried anymore. I don't feel like I have to keep my eye on things. It's like it's grown up a little bit.
That's right. But that's why it's important though for everyone, I think. Is for me, I was just so obsessed with Bitcoin from 2013 until early 2018. Shortly, like by the time that it was clear that BCH was not going to do the flippening, and then I had a lot of other stuff going on in my life at that time as well too. And then I was out of it for 2018, 2019, and got back in sort of in mid to late 2020, I guess. And that few years, it was so interesting. I'm so glad I did it now, but just giving that perspective that you just come back to it and you see what's changed and what hasn't, and it takes a few weeks or a few months to kind of backfill on whatever you missed, but it gives a kind of filter, right? Because the important things that you missed, you will find out that you've missed because they were important and they're still relevant, but the day-to-day drama or whatever, you don't have it.
Yeah, and maybe like, I mean, none of the upgrades have been stuff that I am close enough to that I could like work on. Well, that I've really had the time to work on, or like look into how I could work on something, right? So it's not like the earlier upgrades were like kind of more obvious, and I felt like having that kind of social push was important. But this stuff is all like, yeah, I don't know enough to really comment that much on it. And I don't have the technical prowess to kind of work on these things. So the upgrades matter much, or impact me much less, I think, day to day. And then I don't worry about the culture. So I feel like I'm sitting comfy in BCH. You know what I mean?
That's good. Well, enjoy it. Enjoy it while it lasts before we get into the next round of political meltdown. I mean, obviously, we want to try and avoid that as much as we can. But I have been wondering recently whether there is, I think there's some validity to sort of critiques of like, well, BCH is small, so it's so easy to get everyone on the same page, yada, yada. Once it gets bigger, that will get harder. Yes and no. Like once you have a bigger ship with more momentum, it's harder to turn. So people are kind of on the same, like the direction has been set. So it sort of doesn't really matter too much. The fringe drama or interpersonal problems that various people have, or what, a lot of it kind of comes out in the wash. But at the same time, it is true that maybe the amount of disruption internally will go up as we have more people, because you just have more points of view, you have more competing interests. Although, of course, also the network effect grows, so it locks everyone in more and more to each other. So, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we will see. Okay, all right. So first thing, we're going to do the listener survey. And first thing is actually a look back at last year. This was a question from last year. By the time of the listener survey next year, August, September 2025, which of the following wavering BTC believers interviewed or mentioned on the show will have unambiguously defected from BTC to BCH? We had John Carvalho, Eric Wall, Udi Wertheimer, Moonsettler, Reardon, Shinobi, Paul Stortz, Nopara, Vlad Kostia, some other prominent BTC figures. And by far the biggest response at 47.1% with 8 votes was none. Capitulators will cope with LTC, XMR, the free market of coins, or otherwise. So congratulations to the wisdom of the crowds for coming through on that one, because I don't think, I mean, Moonsettler has been quite interested in BCH, but I don't think of these people, we've not seen any of them give a, okay, guys, I was wrong. I'm switching teams to BCH. I'm out. Screw you guys, right? That's what we were predicting. It hasn't happened.
Yeah. I think I voted for Moonsettler there too. I'm a little hurt. Moonsettler, come on.
He wants to get involved. He wants to get involved. But the thing is, I love these kind of questions, and I deliberately, set them up on the show so that then they'll recur in a year later, or when we do the Christmas episode, we look back at the narratives and all that sort of stuff, because humans are so in the moment. It's so easy to forget, right? Something that was a year ago can seem like it was 5 or 10 years ago, or at the same time, it can seem like, oh, it was only yesterday. And so to keep a bit of a grip on actually how things are progressing or how much time has passed, like for all of these people, think about having had 1 year of just like, it didn't work. All of our ideas and all the stuff that we were planning to do, if you put them in that's because you've got to try and mentally put yourself like in those moments, 1 year ago, are things still going how I would have predicted at that time now? And if not, how big is the gap, right? And you can easily fool yourself day by day, the boiling frog, right? Oh, no, we're just making some progress. Oh, yeah, things. And then it's just like, it's already been a year. It's already been 5 years. Like, it's already been 8 years since the BTC split, right? I wonder if you could time capsule back the BTC and the BCH community to back then, how would people react? I think BCH has done a lot worse in terms of market performance. JC talked about it on the last episode. Like, people would have been absolutely raving mad that 200 to 1 BCH BTC, like, we've got there in a lot of smaller increments with a lot of pain. So there's a lot more tolerance for that. But on the other hand, I think the BTC community would just be horrified. Like, Moonsettler seems to be the only one who really truly appreciates that. Like, guys, we actually had a good thing. And we were saying Bcash is going to be the centralized PayPal and yada, yada, yada. If we looked at where we are today with just, okay, it's a global brand, but everybody's buying it in ETFs. Nobody transacts on chain anymore. Nobody can do an upgrade. Everything's like screwed. It's all become digital gold. Lightning Network didn't work out. Like, it's just they've also just boiled themselves into that situation,
Yeah. It makes me wonder, like, did we need the people that were committed even with the market losses? Like, if we could be transported back to that time, like, I know I would have some BTC because I'd have made a bunch of money from that, and I'd probably funnel that into BCH. But like, then you have that kind of mental balancing act of, how would I be buying BCH, or would I just be buying BTC and then converting it? And then, like, if no one was buying BCH, if no one held their BCH because they knew that, they could make all this money with BTC, would we still exist?
It would have gone even worse. Yeah. Well, and that's why I think the chances, there's just so many things that people really fail to appropriately estimate, right? In terms of people who kind of roughly have the idea of BTC is going in the wrong direction, we need to change it. But they all know how hard it would be to do a chain split. Like, it's so easy to underestimate how much work goes into full-time running node software, running wallets, running meetup groups, running conferences, running podcasts. Like, the amount of infrastructure and stuff you need to sustain a top 20 crypto is actually enormous. And that's what you and your mates who are disenfranchised are signing up for at the point of considering a split. But even more than that, you have to actually get through the chain launch, which is going to drive you're just screwed, because now with that hindsight, if like let's say if Knots was going to split off or something, if they split off, they have their stack of main chain BTC as well, but there's no winning really, because if they sell their main chain BTC, that puts them off that ship from the network effect to try and keep the Knots price from cratering. So they've divested themselves because while they're getting dumped on, but that's consistent with their belief that Knots is going to work out, but they're still going to get much poorer. But if they don't, if they're the ones who supposedly believe that this is going to be the future and they don't actually put some serious money on the line, it's literally going to go to zero. Like the chain price will just go to absolutely nothing. And that's just a death spiral of the further it drops, the few people who were half interested or could maybe, see something are just going to be like, I'm out. And so then it just gets worse. And then like, how would you do it? You would have to chain split, wait 6 months and tell everyone, okay, hold your money, don't do it. Let's just let it dump as far as it needs to go. And then all start buying in at like $1 and then slowly rebuild it from there. But you would need so much faith to coordinate. Like life just moves on. If you wait that 6 months when people are fired up, you've already missed the window.
And then I feel like, what are your miners doing? Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Fucking them over too.
True. Yeah, exactly. So and that's where it's like maybe there is never going to be. I've often felt like BCH, one of the main things that BCH is the one Bitcoin is because there's only one Bitcoin. And so BCH is the one time that Bitcoin survived being a minority chain. BSV was never going to happen. Nexa was never going to happen. XTC was never going to happen. You only get one Bitcoin and you only get one time a BCH saves Bitcoin, if you know what I'm saying, right? It's like that quote in The Office. I just was watching that recently. So good. When Michael goes to meet Ryan at the bowling alley and he says, Pam, everyone deserves a second chance. And it's just kind of like, that sums it up. You don't get a third second chance, but you might get a second chance. All right. Okay, well, that's where we're at. And we'll circle back to this drama at the end. We've got something good for that. But let's get straight into the survey. So question number 1. Last year, I would read out all the answers. I think that's kind of a bit... you can check the slides. It's all in the slides. All the info is on the slides. I don't want to read out every single question and response and how many percentage there was. We'll just chat through what are the key highlights and we'll try and keep the audio listeners in the loop. But question number 1, did you complete the 2024? Oh, no, this was... Did I swap this out? Oh, did you complete the 2024 podcast survey last year? 37 responses. So we had up to 37 responses for all these questions. Yes, 35.1%. No, 54.1%. And no, but I only started listening in the last year, so I didn't know about it. 10.8%. So this was actually kind of fascinating to me. So a lot of the majority are people who didn't do the survey last year, but have been listening that long. And this time they're maybe just more engaged and they wanted to get involved with it. Like for contrast, last year, when we asked, did they complete the 2023 survey, it was 63% yes. So we had a huge returning contingent, but now we've got sort of a fresh cohort giving their views. Why?
Because, I don't actually know how relevant this is to our statistics, but like the channel growth, like the following growth, let's say, isn't going to be linear, right? Like the first 100 is the hardest. So you'll get this like kind of ramping up curve. And then I think, sometimes like the show, the content just needs to grow on people. Maybe the first couple episodes, they were just curious, but now they're like, oh, we see that we have this chat that we'll sometimes engage with, and like you're pretty active online. So knowing that there will be engagement from us is probably an encouraging factor.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, everybody can consider that in the answers to the rest of because I've been personally hoping that we would have year on year a growing amount of survey respondents, but it has been in that range of like 25 to 40 every single year. And the show is growing, our number of subscribers is growing, etc. and I deliberately don't post the survey link or announce it or something, anything outside just the show itself. So you actually have to be watching or listening to the show to know that it's on and complete it. So I wonder what's up with that. Like, I feel like the show is growing, but the survey listeners are not growing, but instead we're getting a fresh segment of them. So I guess some of the ones who did it last year CBF'd. I don't know. Maybe they stopped listening. Maybe it's just turnover. Yeah.
Maybe there's a lot of people that are kind of in that same mindset that I'm in, where it's like they don't have to pay so much attention. They're comfy in BCH. There's not so drama, and so like
they can tune in when they need to. Kind of
yeah.
thing.
If they see something entertaining, they'll be like, okay, I'll check this episode out.
Yeah. No, well, anyway, that's maybe just the genericizing the mainstreaming of the show. Anyway, it's just interesting to see. Okay, question number 2. I'm male, 83%. Female, we got 1 response, which is how many percent? Which is 2.7%, and 5, none of your business. So good stuff. To our last year, we also had 1 female listener. So shout out to our 1 dedicated female listener. I don't know if you're the same as last year, but either way, welcome aboard. No surprises there. I think it's still massively overrepresented with men, and I think that's the way it's going to stay for quite a little while, right? We've got to have to grow BCH quite a lot before we start getting enough visibility in, like, crypto is already female dominated, but even then you've got to be one of the top 2 coins to really get a sizable sort of female traction going, I think, right?
This is just someone trolling us. We don't even have a female listener. It's just some dude.
All right, Jet doesn't believe in you, but I believe in you. Whoever is out there, our female listener, I believe. Jet doesn't think you're real, though, so tough luck about that. Okay, question number 3. I'm in my, and then this is the age question. So we had 1 teen, 2.7%, 20s, 10.8%, 30s, 40%, 40s, 18, nearly 19%, 50s, 13.5%, none of your business, 13.5%. So, like, we've shown growth essentially in the 30s demographic is now very heavily dominating the stats. It's true that as well, like last year we had a little more 20s, a little more 40s, and so on. So yeah, it's really men in their 30s is dominating the trend, which, as I've said before, is not like surprising that would be the audience that you and I are interesting. But crypto is maybe getting older over time, right? Because you can only be into it for 15 years once it's been around for 15 years, and that will saturate over time. Like, crypto's initial kind of youth surge is petering out as it's becoming more mainstream, right?
Yeah, I think that like when I got into crypto, they were just starting like the Ethereum or games on Ethereum, like play to earn kind of stuff too. And I think that got a lot of young people in. But I haven't seen any one of those projects pop up in a long time. So maybe there's just less engaging stuff.
Yeah, well, they've just moved on to chasing the newest riches, because young people are inevitably going to jump on whatever is the trendiest, riskiest thing at the time that they're in, like, high school and university, because that is where the prospects seem good for a job, and they have less of a disadvantage relative to people who've already been in whatever existing industry for a long time, right?
Yeah, and how much has like the gambling industry ramped up since like 2019 or something? Like all the sports betting stuff, RainBet, the stake online gambling. Like I'm sure a lot of crypto degenerates are just doing that now.
Yeah. Okay, shout out to Moneyless World, who says, "What's up, gentlemen?" in the chat. What's up? Well, go back and listen to the start of the show. We chatted a little bit about that. Okay, so question 4. I have been in Bitcoin, according to your own definition, since, let's see here, where's the actual numbers start? Oh, it's going this direction. 2010, 2 answers. 2011, 3, 8.1%, 2012, 5.4%, 2013, 13.5%, 2014, 5.4, 2015, 10.8, 2016, 16.2, 2017, 5.4, 2019, 13.5, 2021, 5.4, 2022, 8.1, and 2024, 2.7%. So I'm really glad to see this, actually, this chart. We've got some nice growth going there. More than a quarter of listeners were from 2019 or later, which is, and some of the more recent years getting representation, 2021, 2022, and 2024. Whereas previously, I think we were struggling a little bit that we had, more people, just more of the like OG types, essentially. I think BCH is growing enough to attract people who don't understand all that history or who weren't there for all of it and have an ideological attachment, right? So a big welcome to all those listeners. I'm like over the moon to see, because these are post-split listeners. People who are after 2017 are just in BCH for BCH, and people who are from 2021 and later are just in the era of no chain splits, right? That's people who've been attracted to and interested in joining BCH just for how it is now, which I think is amazing. And we need obviously a lot more of that.
I wonder, so how does this compare to last year? Like, do you remember what the highest,
the biggest slice was? Last year, the biggest slice was 2013 at 22.7%, followed by 2014 at so nearly a quarter, nearly a third of listeners last year were from 2013 or 2014, or survey respondents rather. But then you also had 9% in 2012, 2011, 2010. So you had basically 2/3 from 2014 or earlier of the survey respondents, and also presumably of our general listening base.
That's insane. Okay. That's quite a shift.
Yeah, that's a big shift. But it tracks, right? BCH is getting more into the crypto discussion. It's becoming less of that hardcore niche of ideologues who just refuse to let it die, the 300 Spartans, and it's starting to become, wait, this is just a competitive, regular crypto, basically, right?
I wonder for the new people if it's like, oh, actually, I think this is one of our questions. Never mind. I'll just hold off.
Okay. All right. So next up, I have BCH only, no other crypto, 35%. BCH plus some other crypto, 59.5%. Some other crypto, but no BCH, one answer, 2.7%. And also one answer for no crypto, fiat for life. So shout out to our no coiner listener, and also to our some other crypto, but no BCH tuning in. Welcome aboard. I'm sure you'll see some reason to invest at some point. But regardless, I feel like this matches up earlier, right? Last year, I think we talked a lot about like maximalism was on the rise, right? It was the OG. Well, last year it was 40%, 42% BCH only. This year it's down to 35%. And last year there was no fiat and, other crypto guys. So I just feel like things have diversified a bit more, right?
Yeah, I think you were kind of on that. Seeing all the rest of these show up, it feels like you were right about the mainstreamification of the podcast.
Yeah. And that's backed up on the next question, which is, besides BCH, I have a bag of tick all that apply. And I've got the comparison here on the slides from 2024 and 2025. So the 2025 stats, the two largest responses are BCH only, who cares about that trash, 12 answers, 35%. And the same is for BTC, 12 answers, 35%. Then we have something else comes in at 29%, ETH at 23%, Monero at 20%, and then we have representation of all of these XRP, ADA, Sol, LTC, Doge, AVAX, BSV, XCC, DAI, even ICP, and our one no coiner. So if you can, I had to have it on the list because it's such a meme on this show. But if you look at the previous year, we had people like nobody had Ripple, Cardano, Solana, Doge, DAI, XEC, ICP. They were all 0%. So the things have diversified a lot in terms of people having stacks of those other altcoins. And also last year we had ETH outperforming BTC, which was itself less than the BCH only. This year we've got more of a split, right? BCH and BTC are equal, or BCH only is equal to the BTC investors. And then ETH has kind of dropped off a bit. So I mean, it makes sense. Like I've been doing a lot of engagement, arguing with those BTC guys on Twitter. We spend a lot of time reviewing parts of what's going on in that scene. We only talk about ETH kind of in passing. And I guess ETH dominance is down as well too. So maybe there's just not so many ETH investors total for all those reasons where, I don't know, we're becoming more of a mainstream Bitcoin show. That's what it feels like to me. We're rising up the ranks of recognized like Bitcoin podcasting.
That makes sense too. Like, I wonder how many people, how many BTC folks like are right on the edge that are watching the show that are like, if there's one more upgrade, maybe.
Well, we'll get them eventually. I mean, it's always going to be a slowly but suddenly thing. That's like my Bliss talk where I had the overlapping. Still, that graphic wasn't perfect in sort of illustrating what I wanted to say, but those overlapping curves, everything is slowly then suddenly, but it's slowly then suddenly in a cascading series of steps of like, oh, I get it now. So it's just people going from never listening to the Bitcoin Cash podcast or having no interest in BCH at all to then slightly interested. And then there's a certain point at which they become like a lot interested, but maybe they don't invest, but they actually start following it and paying attention recently, but closely because they can see things are going well. And then there's a moment of like, well, I don't really have any BCH, but I'll get a little bit. And then that suddenly becomes, oh, I'll buy a lot. Like, oh, I can't afford to miss this. And then there's this like, well, I don't really want to, go on Telegram or Bitcoin Cash research and get in the weeds of any of this. Well, before that, there's the stage of, I don't really want to download a wallet and everything. I've just got it in my other wallet or what have you. And then it becomes like, no, I actually need to try out. What are these guys all hyped about? Like, what is all these apps and stuff like that? And then it goes from trying it a little bit to like, holy cow, like, let me, use Wallet Connect and etc. And then the same with the research forum, and then the same with contributing themselves to the discussion. So I just think we're starting to see a little cohort arrive in that sense.
I think I mentioned this last year, but I would love to see like some anonymized, but anonymized, like almost like I don't think I'm using this phrase correctly, but user tracking. So we could be like, okay, we know that the one female also has these coins or no coins or whatever.
Sounds like surveillance to me, bro.
Well, it doesn't. We don't have to
Palantir AI surveil everyone dystopia. I mean, we deliberately leave it untracked for that reason, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't want it connected to anyone's personal information, but just to kind of get an idea of, if we have so many people. Oh, another interesting question might have been is like,
what?
If you do own BTC, how long have you been in BTC? And then seeing that group.
Are we getting the hardcore, or are we just getting people came in BTC, they're in BTC for 3 years, and then they heard about BCH and thought, oh, maybe I'll give this a go. Well, maybe we'll have to ask that on the survey next year. Could be a thought. But yeah, I think this diversification of coins is so interesting as well too. Like Ripple, Cardano, Solana, even XCC, DAI, ICP, like they all had zero, nobody. And obviously the survey is not obviously the whole listeners. It's just a sort of hopefully statistically relevant, sample. So in that sense, we must be reaching much, much more of just the general crypto audience that's out there, right? I feel like, we're breaking out of our niche and the little BCH topics and focus where we maybe promoted or got started rolling on the show, Like, look, even just visually, you look at those two graphs, it's so strikingly different.
We also have nearly, like 150% of the responses, right?
Yeah. You can tick more than one response, right? So people can tick multiple options, of course, but still, like, that means we have more people holding more variety of coins and less. Again, I think it's just less ideological. I think BCH is doing a good job of getting on people's radar, just as in the marketplace of crypto, this is one option that you can be a part of, particularly for BTC people who are kind of maybe starting to lose a little bit of the faith, but for everyone.
BTC, maybe some LTC people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, and then the next question is if we'll see this flow through. Will we see more of those people popping up on Telegram groups that maybe we already are, but will we start meeting them at conferences, Bliss next year? Maybe Blaze. Blaze is looking heavy on Sol and ETH hackers.
Okay.
So that maybe explains the Solana bump. I don't know. All right. Well, anyway, I think it is diversifying in that sense also. Generalize. What did I say? Generalizing. What was the word I used before? Okay. Question number 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate the current state of Bitcoin Cash's community and progress? Okay. Nobody answered 1, 2, 3, or 4, which is good to see. 5, 1, 2.8%, 6, 3, 8.3%, 7, 9, 25%, 6, 16.7% for 8 out of 10. 5 people answered 13.9% for 9 out of 10, and 12 people, 33.33%, said 10 was their choice. BCH is doing 10 out of 10. And like this one, we have the contrast from last year. Last year, only 28.6% of people said 10. Only 4.8% of people said 9. So that's jumped up significantly. And the highest bar was actually 7 at 33%. And then tailing off, including some responses 3 and 4s in there. So there's a noticeable shift to the right. Like, the average has definitely gone up. And a third of people saying 33.3. One third of people answering 10 out of 10 is a big, that's pretty high satisfaction levels, right? I mean, obviously we can always try and do better, but that's probably would be the highest that maybe it's ever been in BCH. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you had run this poll at any time previous to now, you would never see that many people going 10 out of 10.
That's a lot. A third of people, because 10 out of 10 is like nothing could be improved. I mean, I feel like maybe if I remember right, I think I might have voted at 9, just because for me, it's so unreasonable to really vote 10 out of 10. Maybe you've got to constrain within realistic limits, right? 1 can't be the chain is literally dead, and 10 can't be we're already the global reserve currency. It's like the current state of the community and progress. Yeah. So, but I think this is a good sign, obviously. Like you said, it reflects what you said at the start. Morale is high. Everyone's unified. Things are working. Not so many people dissatisfied.
Things are good.
Things are good. I guess that's it. Okay, question number 8. Well, we have really a series of these. 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the questions about the chips. Are you in favor of Jason Dreisner's chip 4? And they are loops, pay to script, bitwise, and functions. So I don't know that we really need to, do each one specifically in detail. But in general, the loops pay to script, and Bitwise all have about a 70%, 67 or 70% in favor of vote. All of them have very little representation or zero on no's, and also in undecided, very small. Looks like unsure need to read up was 9 responses in all cases. So it might be literally the same people are just like, I haven't looked into it, unsure for everything. So I'm not seeing a lot, like, it just seems pretty clear that these are things we want to go for, right?
So the only no on those first 3 is loops, right?
Yes.
Concept
and only
is
one
good, but
response.
Need more time. Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, no nos.
And then
And it's just like, this is what consensus looks like, basically, right? This is where things lock in. Everyone knows it's a good idea. The process has worked and everybody's happy, right?
Yeah, I think I answered unsure for all of these. I mean, like, I feel like Jason's got it under control, but I also don't want to just be like, blindly trusting.
Are you going to do a chip endorsements thing this year? Are you planning to?
I wasn't planning on it.
Well, you don't have to.
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. All right. So those ones all seem pretty non-controversial. And it adds to the polls that we already ran on a couple of episodes ago, which was like, people are generally more pro-innovation than I expected. So question 11 is about the functions eval successor. We have had in the last week or two some positive movement there. And I think that's also essentially on the glide path into locking in. But from these stats that people have been voting on for the last month, it comes out as 48.6% in favor, 13.5% undecided, still hangs in the balance, 5% 2 responses, no, concept is good but needs more time. Nobody said the concept is a bad idea. This 11 people went for unsure, need to read up. So there was people who'd been reading the other chips who were still unsure about this one, and unsure but don't care either way, also 2.5%. 2 answers, 5.4%, which is the same as the other chips. So that probably is also the same people. So this one, a little more indecision, but not a strong vote against, really, even still.
Yeah. I feel like, how many revisions has the functions thing had so far?
Well, there was op eval originally, and then that went through, some minor tweaks or whatever until it eventually got scrapped. And then functions came in, which was like the V2, basically. And then there was debate about that over the mutability parts. And then there was a V2.1 and 2.2, which were alternatives. Like there was the original one and then so-called take 2 and take 3. And then there was some discussion about that. And then everybody was like, well, the original one made sense, basically. So it was kind of like an anti-revision, where there was exploratory work and debate over alternatives that then got rejected. You don't have to actually iterate forward to be iterating forward in a way.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the last time I went through some of the Telegram chats, I saw that there was another update or something. And I feel like the amount of updates that this chip has had has made me a little more hesitant to it. Just in the time scale, I guess. But another year, I feel like would be good.
Well, this has been the most volatile one for sure. People see it both ways, and I understand why. People ideally want to see a lot of iteration on a chip because it's a bit sus if a chip comes out and then it's quote unquote perfect. If it's just good from the start and nobody iterates, that just means it's not getting feedback. People are not looking at it, etc. So you do want some iteration, but then also once it's been iterated a few times, you want it to stop where it's kind of at a good point and then just let it simmer for a long time to see if anybody has any other objections or better ideas. And if they don't, then that's when you go for it, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, I think that's the ideal. And this functions one is coming in a little late in that respect. But still, this is in early September. I think people are kind of losing track of it. Like last year, when I did my endorsements post, it was like the 22nd of October or something like that, or maybe the 25th or 7th of October. Like it was right at the end of October with the lock-in in November. And now people are already putting stuff out early September.
Yeah.
So there's actually been about 2 months of extra time. Not, I don't know that I was the first to do, but I think that that's what I'm saying at the start about losing track of time. I think we're actually moved maybe at least a month, maybe even sort of 2 months forward in terms of relative to the cycle, how assured people are. So I think we're actually doing better than we expect.
I think I lost track of that time. That was a good reminder. Thank you.
All right. And I think there's also an effect, which we need a name for this effect. I don't know what it's going to be, but we need a name for it, which is that because 6 months is a long time, especially in crypto, when things lock in, even if they feel a little bit controversial at that time, by the time 6 months has passed, everybody's like completely over it. Like that happened with Big Ints. There was, back and forth and debating about that. But then by the time Big Ints activated, it was just the most obvious thing in the world. Like, why wouldn't we have this? Wouldn't it have been really lame if we didn't have that? I sort of feel like Functions is the same. It's certainly not got there in the smoothest way necessarily. But at the same time, I feel like by the time we're halfway through next year and Functions is activating, everyone's going to feel like, gosh, thank goodness we didn't wait another 12 months for this,
Yeah.
That's just my sense of it. Okay. That needs a name like the stalling effect or something, but I don't know what it's going to be. Okay. Question 12. Although it's not proposed for 2025 lock-in, there is ongoing community discussion about BCH Audit's 1 minute blocks proposal, and potentially could be on the menu. What was the full question? La-di-la, potentially could be locked in the following years. Are you currently feeling good about 1 minute blocks? For that, we had 59.5%, 60% said yes, would be very valuable and cost risks appear manageable. 21% said undecided but open to the idea, just haven't been convinced. 3 responses, 8.1% said no, the concept is fine but not convinced. Only 1 response, no, the concept itself is a bad idea. And 4 people wrote unsure, need to read up. So compared to the previous ones, this was the one that people were the least unsure about, actually. People were going for undecided or yes instead of unsure, which is fascinating, right?
Yeah, but I think it makes sense. You'll have people that have to deal with the exchanges who are like, yeah, give me faster blocks now. And then you'll have people who don't have to deal with the exchanges, but have heard people go, this fucking sucks, waiting 40 minutes sometimes for 1 block and you need 10 confirmations. Like,
yeah.
So I'm curious about the no. Like I understand some of the hesitation, but like, maybe I'm trivializing it, but it seems like a very simple, like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make the blocks faster.
Well, I mean, I think I'm obviously in favor of it myself, so I also don't want to sort of trivialize it, but I can understand because there's such a weight of history on that idea of like Bitcoin has 10-minute blocks is not quite up there, but it's close to up there in the general consciousness with Bitcoin has 21 million coins, right? So to the extent that everyone individually decides what is Bitcoin, a P2P electronic cash system, everybody decides, what are the immutable properties of this monetary technology. I can understand why. Like, imagine if this was proposed in the BTC community. It would just, I mean, they can't agree on anything, but like that would just be so far outside beyond the pale. Like, what do you mean 10-minute blocks is fine? Like, think about, there's been some discussion and talking about that in BCH. And obviously we're in a different situation where we have a much more to gain from making an improvement than they do, because they've invested so much in their ossified digital gold, nonsense, and they're also the market leader, so they can afford not to be aggressively, finding a ways to get a competitive 10x edge, right?
Yeah. So like when someone asks why do we have 21 million coins, I can easily go, well, we want the hard limit to some extent. I don't know, but why is it specifically 21 million? Why not?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay.
Well, but it only matters. The point with the 21 million is that it doesn't change, and having a fixed limit goes into economics, right? So then you have all these economic arguments.
Right.
But you're right. Like, it doesn't matter. It could have been 19 million or 43 million would not be better or worse if they had been decided from the start that that was the amount. The whole point is you just don't change it.
But I can't answer that easily with block times. Why do we have 10-minute blocks? Well, maybe something to do with like bandwidth when the network was getting bootstrapped. Maybe.
Yeah. So the trade-off is slower confirmations are more annoying, because as a user, you want faster confirmations. I think that's basically uncontroversial. And then the trade-off, was minor centralization, which is that the lower, like the reason you can't have 1 second blocks, or you can, and some chains even do, but what you're watching out for is that then if you're the biggest miner and it only takes 1 second to mine a block, how is somebody else going to have that window to mine a block where you've already mined your block, and in the time that you've broadcast it to them, which takes like a second, you've already mined another block. So then you've just centralized everything, right? And then so the idea of having a block time that significantly exceeds the block dispersal time is very important, but there's diminishing returns, and that's what the 1 minute proposal is about, is saying like, well, 1 minute would be slightly worse than 10 minutes in terms of that, but 10 minutes would be slightly worse than 100 minutes, or it could be 1,000 minutes. If we wanted to be quote unquote maximally decentralized, well, maybe we should have a 1 year block time, right? But
yeah, and
that's
that's
just
necessary
impractical.
for like the interplanetary chains, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. So you could work a blockchain, like an interstellar chain, but you would just need to change the block time to be relative to the communication, speed between them.
Man, I wish we could actually see like Satoshi's handwritten notes about some of this stuff. Like when he's like working out the math, what's his like a starting point? Does he go, okay, my computer is...
There was a quote about that, because Jason also dug up that quote where he said he was considering doing 15 minutes, and then he changed his mind and he was like, no, 10 minutes. So I mean, I think at that time it was a little bit more like 10 and 15 minutes are like nice, quote unquote round numbers. Like it wasn't like 13.35, So he was like, well, 10 minutes is good enough. And he wrote something about that too, where he said it's 10 minutes, which was kind of the good enough compromise between bandwidth and user convenience, basically user experience. But I think one thing people get a bit lost on this block size thing is that you actually need to think of, it's called a blockchain, but you kind of need to think of it like a stream. Really, the blocks is just like putting a checkpoint in a continuous stream. So that's where people get, because when you see it like that, you see, okay, 1 minute, 10 minutes, like 50 minutes, 3 seconds. Like it doesn't really matter as long as the transactions are just coming through in the chain. Where people get a bit lost is, especially on the BTC side, they have this big thing like you need the confirmations, like zero conf is not secure, etc. And things get worse from there, right? In any case, seems like people are very, like 60% people are as favorable to that as they are to Bitwise, loops, and pay to script, and it's not even proposed for this year.
That's sick. I hope to see that number go up. That's the number go up I want.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show that if we've got a whole nother year for this to kind of gather momentum, then there's a good chance that by this time next year, we will have sort of overwhelming momentum on that, I think. Hopefully, in my opinion, but maybe, again, who knows? You want time to simmer, right? Where people can think about this. And I think it overlaps with what we're saying. If more people from more coins are coming in, I can see more of them kind of being like, there's no argument about this 10-minute historical time is the golden number enshrined by Satoshis. I've used some other coin. It was faster. That was better. Let's do it, right? It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, question 13, which was about which of the following BCH apps you've used. There's a whole spread, but TapSwap once or twice was the most common at 48.4%. I feel like that's partly to do with Bliss, because you need to use it to get a Bliss ticket. And then other common good ones, Cauldron, which was the most popular to use frequently, was Cauldron, followed by Moria USD at 35.5% and 32.3% respectively. BitGree regularly 25.8%, and BCH Bull regularly 22.6%. BCH Guru predictions only used once by 35.5% of people, but only used regularly by one person, 3.2%. And the similar with Fifth of Gaming, once or twice, 29%, used once, 6.5%. So I can kind of see here there's like two different categories, really. Like you have BCH Guru, a Fifth of Gaming, TapSwap, which people have used, but they didn't stick. And then Moria or Cauldron or BCH Bull that people use and then they become regulars on, right? Which sort of, I will say, lines up with the community engagement and developer effort of those teams respectively, right? The Rift and Labs teams, BCH Bull, the General Protocols, they're putting out updates all the time. They're, listening to user feedback. They're adding this, they're adding that. But BCH Guru, they do announce stuff, and like, don't get me, this is not to hate on them or anything, but, and like also David Shattuck with the Fifth of Gaming, he does put out updates regularly with his dev, blog and stuff, but he also has a full-time job still, as far as I'm aware. So he's not just like churning it out all day, every day at the speed of a dedicated team. And also kind of with TapSwap, Pat is busy. So I think you can just really see the difference. Like, to get consistent recurring users, you have to be just full-time going super hard. I think that's kind of what this comes down to.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised and impressed. Like, congrats to the Moria team, but it does surprise me that they're more popular than BCH Bull.
Yeah, maybe there's a slightly lower barrier to entry. I don't know, because it combines so well with Cauldron, and that's maybe what we're going to see as like Cash Connect comes out, and also XO from the General Protocols team. I wonder if that's not going to shake things up significantly, because if that, after some implementation time, essentially levels the field of how difficult, quote unquote, it is to interact with every different app from the wallets that kind of support it, then that will be a really good thing. By the way, it will also just make it so it's so much more accessible. Whereas BCH Bull, you kind of have to use it independently with their web app. You kind of need to know that flow is a little bit, difficult if you've never done it before. And then the same also with Cauldron and Moria, you have to do Wallet Connect. You have to use all this. Like, I feel like nothing that we have yet is just at the point, which hopefully XO will bring, that people can just come in from other chains. My wallet already has a little, like Selene, I can already imagine the little tabs in there. You just click on the tab, your wallet maybe auto connects somehow, or you push a button, accept permissions or whatever, and then boom, you're rolling, and that's it. And it's just like that for everything.
I gotta run to the washroom again real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch slides. Keep on this one.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look. Next one is the wallets. Yeah, I'll talk about this. Okay, so question number 14. Which of the following BCH wallets do you use? Selene regularly, 33%, and once or twice, 27.8%. Cash and Eyes regularly, 27%, and once or twice, 25%. Paytaka regularly, 33%, and once or twice, 13%. Zapit regularly, 16.7%, and once or twice 27.8%. Bitcoin.com regularly 38.9%, once or twice 22.2%. Electron Cash Desktop regularly 55.6%, and once or twice 8.3%. Electron Cash Mobile regularly 11%, and once or twice 22.2%. Flowy regularly 0%, once or twice 13.9%. Stack Wallet regularly 13.9%, and once or twice 27.8%. And other non-custodial wallets at 11 responses, 30.6%. So the most regularly used wallet by a significant margin is the Electron Cash desktop wallet, and then followed by the Bitcoin.com wallet, and then Zapit, Paytaka, Cash and Eyes, and Selene are kind of in there following that one as well. Actually, Stack Wallet also fairly well represented. So I'm really hoping, obviously, I'm a Selene developer. I'm hoping we can pump those numbers up a little bit, but it's good to see that we're already essentially competitive or getting to close to competitive with the Bitcoin.com wallet. Of course, there is some selection bias because people who listen to this show would know that I'm also shilling Selene all the time. But in general, we have a pretty good spread. And if we compare that to last year, where we had the wallets question, it was kind of similar, but actually, yeah, maybe Selene, Cash and Eyes, Paytaka, and Zapit were a little less represented. And certainly other non-custodial wallets was only 14%, whereas this time around it's 30%. So we've clearly seen a very large growth in the number of wallets and so forth used outside of the BCH specific ones. So Jet, the summary is we've seen a massive growth in non-custodial wallets that aren't on this list, from 10% to 30%, matching our generalization theory, and also some stronger performances by the dedicated BCH wallets, Selene, Cash and Eyes, Paytaka, and to a certain extent Zapit. But Bitcoin.com still wins as the most regularly used mobile wallet, although the gap has narrowed. What do you make of that?
Surprised that Bitcoin.com is still on the top, to be quite honest.
I am too. I wonder if, I mean, partly if we're generalizing, that will also happen because there will be more people who've downloaded that in the past or are familiar with that. But I think it just kind of goes to show that even though we've caught up, Selene, Cash and Eyes, Paytaka, we haven't got, like, it's that switching cost. You can't just be a little bit better. You have to be a lot better. You have to be 10x better to justify the switching cost. And there's not enough stuff, like I was saying before, like Selene integrated with Cauldron right in the wallet. That would actually be a strong reason for somebody coming to BCH from Cauldron. Oh, I can't do this on Bitcoin.com. I have to go to an alternative. That's where we're like the shareable link. People love shareable link. It's one of the most requested features at Selene. And in fact, we're going to offer a bounty at BCH Blaze if somebody can actually get it done and build it for us, because we haven't had the bandwidth yet. But shareable link, people love shareable link. I hear that all the time. I would switch from Bitcoin.com if it didn't have shareable link, you know?
Really? That's the thing. Because like I on my old phone, I was running Graphene and the shareable links never worked for me. So I had never used it enough to like make a habit out of it. So like I'll be
it's
like,
a very powerful feature.
I've
used it. No, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Makes a big difference.
Like the 10x, I don't think something has to be 10x better. It just has to not inshitify itself. And Bitcoin.com with their fucking ads has pissed me off so much that I've uninstalled the wallet from my phone.
No, but you're an enfranchised user. What I'm talking about is, in general, you know, like you need an exponential edge over something else. to justify it. That's just how everything works. That's how people acquire networks for anything, products, any kind of product. If your existing bigger competitor is like 70% as good as your new flashy startup, you are fucked, because everybody's just going to be using the bigger thing, which has more marketing, more brand, more, you know, to fight uphill against the network effect. You need a 10x advantage. So I feel like we're getting close, but we aren't there, and that's being helped by the fact that the Bitcoin.com wallet is getting worse over time. So that's helped. Like, if they hadn't put in all that stuff, and we had just made Selene, let's say, to the point that we're at now, I would say we would still be struggling to convince, you know, people to mass onboard. But since they're going in the wrong direction and we're going in the right direction, at least as far as BCH users overall are concerned, I think we're getting close to that switching point. And we only need to hit that once, right? That's the other important thing about the switching cost, because if you need to be 10x better to justify a user switching onto your product, then the competitor that you have replaced is almost completely screwed, because they would need to get 10x better to catch up to you. But then to win that user back, they would then need to be 10x better than you are now. So they need to essentially 100x their product to win users back, which is why, like, as people start switching from BTC to BCH, for instance, that is such a bad sign for BTC, because that means despite the network effect, despite the liquidity, despite the branding, we are offering something 10x better, and BTC is never going to be able to catch up to that, and then also 10x even better than that. Like, think how futuristic their protocol would have to be to compete with today's BCH. It's not happening.
I think, yeah, I've never really thought about this before, but I think the thing that actually drives me to switch more than things being better is, like, if something doesn't work as advertised, like, or yeah, there's some problem that I have with it. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be talking because I am the enfranchised user, but I've tried all of these, and the only one I hate right now is the Bitcoin.com wallet.
Well, yes, but it is true also, people respond to pain far more than pleasure, you know, loss aversion. If you take $10 off somebody, they're more pissed off than they are happy if you give them $10.
Yeah.
So pain is a stronger motivator than pleasure in humans. But yeah, that's true. You have to work hard, I guess. But at the time that you onboarded, that's also because you've seen the decline, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you had been a new user, I'm new to crypto, somebody onboarded you with a shareable link, and you just assumed that the Bitcoin.com wallet had always had annoying ads and this and that, it wouldn't be a factor for you. You would have just accepted as normal.
Yeah, there's some of that with even the BTC thing too. Like, the people who are onboarded now, like, things are just fine. But I've got such that vivid memory of a $70 fee where it's like, fuck that. I will never put myself in that position again.
Yeah, it only takes once. Off topic a little, Brian Kanachi says in the chat, shout out to him, regular user. My guess is Satoshi figured 20 million was a nice even number and estimated that he personally would mine about 1 million coins that would end up not being used. Okay, well, I don't think that was it, because as far as I'm aware, he wrote that the number of sats in the protocol, so it's whatever it is, 2.1 quadrillion, I think, is just barely under the sort of amount that you could hold in a C, like big integer or whatever it is at that time. So he made it basically as precise as he could without getting into the complication of having, you know, subunits or whatever. And he sort of targeted it to fit that, and then looked at the supply curve that he wanted to get, which was roughly the gold sort of historical mining curve approximated. And then I guess he fit those two things together, then tweak some numbers, you know, the block time comes into it as well or whatever. And then it kind of, I guess, one way or another got around to 21 million.
Sorry, it's
but anyway.
high.
Yes. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's good to see with wallets. And yeah, at Selene, we're working hard. We've got some good stuff in the pipeline there. But I mean, that's another thing that's worth saying. Like Selene, Cash and Eyes, Paytaka, these have now been long-lasting projects. You know, it's just year over year over year. I'm glad that we have that diversity of several well-maintained BCH mobile wallets that are ready to go. Like, it's at a good point, right? That's probably part of the reason people are feeling so great about things. Like, if there's only one wallet, people always kind of know if this goes bad, damn, we're going to be in a big mess. But on the other hand, if you see, like, it was the same with BCH Bull and Mori USD, for instance. People are not like, okay, we don't have all our eggs in one basket on the volatility front. We've kind of got some redundancy, some competition in the marketplace. You don't need 10, but 2 or 3 does a lot to build your confidence, you know?
Yeah, especially like how many of these they're all open source except for bitcoin.com now too, right?
Yeah. I think so. Stack Wallet, I believe they're open source.
Yep.
And a shout out to Electron Cash Desktop, though, the absolute goat. Like, that doesn't get upgraded much, but it's already got so much crammed into it, like super advanced features you can't get anywhere else. Yeah, an absolute workhorse. Of course, it's not going to fly for mass onboarding people, because you just open it up and you're like, gosh, this is not confidence inspiring if you're not already sort of a terminal programmer type. But regardless, yeah, big shout out to them, because yeah, they're fantastic. Like, for me, I use Selene regularly, Cashionized regularly, and Electron Cash Desktop regularly. Like, it deserves its spot as number 1 for sure. Okay, question number 15 and number 16 are related. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you attended Bliss, how did you feel it? So question 15 was in person, if you were at Bliss in person, and number 16 was if you weren't in person but you watched the live stream or surrounding content, rate Bliss on a scale of 1 to 10. Question 15, in-person attendees, 55.6% gave it a 10 out of 10, 11% one response for 9 out of 10, 22% 2 out of 10 for an 8 out of 10, and one response 7 out of 10, 11.1%. So 55, 11, 22, and 11% from 10 to 7, and then nobody rated it 0 to 6. So I got to say, that's some pretty good numbers. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. And every year it will continue to not be perfect. But that really warms my heart, because the amount of work and effort that it takes Jonathan, Brian, myself, you, Jet, Robert, you know, everybody that is involved at all the different levels with organizing that is just massive. And so it's great to see that appreciated, and that we're delivering a service that people really, really enjoy and that has a big impact. I don't know. I think I'm so glad to see this. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm very happy about that, especially like where it costs so much for people, like certain people, to even go. Like, yeah, I'm glad they feel like everyone feels that they got their money's worth.
Yeah, you don't want to be leaving people out in the cold. And then for the stream attendees, nobody rated 0 to 4. 14.3% rated 5 out of 10. 9.5% 6 out of 10. 19% 7 out of 10. 42.9% 8 out of 10. 4.8% rated 9 out of 10. And 9.5% rated 10 out of 10. So this one I also think is probably more than fair, to be honest. I think last year as well, obviously we're always iterating, and I think it will get better year on year. But the live stream has a big pro in that I think if we didn't have a live stream, like, that's the alternative, right? It's just whatever you get from the live stream is a lot better than nothing. And I think back to like when there's the 2023 upgrade, and so you're literally just sitting in your bedroom like whatever. And then Bliss is happening, you can tune in, you can watch it. Okay, there's a lot of dead time on air. There's maybe some problems, sometimes with the audio or whatever, but at least you can kind of be a part of it. You can see what's going on. You get loads of content between all of the talks. So even if you're not there, there's like several days of sitting there watching the videos. So I think that's the plus side. On the negative side, yeah, it's not like top tier pro production. We haven't nailed that yet. We could do so much better with shoulder content, with graphics, with displaying the schedule and tweeting about it and managing all those things, which partly hasn't happened because we're also busy running the event live in person. But I think year on year that will also improve. So I'm actually quite impressed that I think it's the number one thing as well is that the people who are there in person, we want to make them happy first and foremost. The live stream, is just the second priority. That's just the way it's going to go. So I'm probably also thankful to the online viewers to give us such a positive reception, because if I had to guess, I would have guessed a little lower than this. I can believe that everyone who came to Bliss had a great time because I was there and people are having a great time. But the live stream, yeah, certainly I think we're being given a little bit of excess credit here from the listeners because it's better than nothing. What do you make of it?
We had this question last year, right?
Yeah. Let me have a look at what is the responses from last year. Okay, last year in person also actually rated quite highly. One person gave us 4 out of 10, but 3 people gave us 9 out of 10, and 2 people gave us 10 out of 10. So from the 6 responses, one person wasn't so happy, and the others thought it was 9 or 10 out of 10. From the live stream question last year, one person each for 1, 4, 6, and 10. Nobody for 2, 3, and 5. And then we had 28.6% 4 people each for 8 and 9, and 14% for 7. So essentially, the 60% last year said 8 or 9 for the stream. So actually, we did a little better on the stream. It looks like.
That's wild to me because we had
that is wild to me.
audio issues last year, and
yes.
I mean, personally, the dead air thing, I don't think is a problem with live streams. That shit happens all the time. Any kind of esports competition has dead air, or an advertisement. And what would you rather? I do kind of wish this was split up into 2 different questions. One about the live stream and one just about the surrounding content, or the edited versions and that kind of thing.
Well, because we did better, I think, on the surrounding content the year before, because we did those interviews at the open day. They were very, very popular, and it's a bit of a shame that I didn't get around to doing them this year, but we'll see next year if we can do it, because that was also really cool. The live stream is obviously the main talks and stuff, but getting a vibe of what's going on behind the scenes and those different, chats and things like that, where it's a bit more closer in on what's going on, the pre-show podcast, that kind of thing. I think if I was sitting at home watching Bliss, I would actually be more interested in that than the main talks, I think.
Yeah. Kind of almost like that parasocial bit rather than it being like a lecture.
Well, it's also just that the talks can be interesting, but it depends on the topic. If it's a topic you're really interested in, that might be good, but it's also possible it's a topic, okay, well, this topic I wasn't so keen on, or it's a topic you're really interested in, but you kind of already know. You've already heard, me talk about making BCH the global reserve currency 100 times. Saying it in a slightly different format is not oh, I have to say this, but somebody... It's almost like behind the scenes, when we're doing those little open day, open house things, you can see a little bit, and we should get better about doing more of that as well. But it's more if you're not there, you get more of a sense of what it is like if you are there, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I do wish, I wish we had this into 2 different questions, and for anything less than a 7, I would also like some feedback. I'll happily try and improve. Of course, that's going to be the goal anyway, but if I don't know what the problem might be, maybe I'll tackle the wrong thing.
Yeah. No, but anyway, I think that listeners have been a little generous with us on that one. But it also, and maybe again, BCH is generalizing. So it explains partly that we did well on 2024 because we had all the hardcore BCH people voting. And if they were well, I remember last year when we had nothing. So a live stream, even if it's got some problems and issues, is a lot better than that, right? It's a lot more fun. Okay, question 17. Oh, this is an interesting one. If you were BCH dictator and could decide, what should be the number one highest priority of the community in allocating its time, attention, money, resources for the next year? And gave a bunch of options. The most popular ones were protocol and node development, e.g. chips and full nodes at 24.3%, fostering or supporting new emerging apps, new Flipstarter, FundMes, etc., was 18.9%. BCH content creation, like the podcast, Paul's YouTube channel, GP Spaces, or Caesar price analysis videos, got 6 responses, 16.2%. Retail merchant onboarding got 5 responses, 13.5%. So that's Paytaka in the Philippines, BCH Argentina, Bitcoin Cash City, that kind of thing. And then some of the smaller responses were like stablecoin development, BCH content creation, crowdfunding and resource allocation, BCH social media, physical meetups, existing app development, and wallet development. So this is a fascinating graph, I think. Protocol development coming in as the number one. I definitely did not vote for that. And I'm surprised to see such a huge focus on that. Like wallet dev, only 1 response. Existing app dev, only 1 response. Social media, only 1 response. Crowdfunding, only 1 response. Physical meetups, 2 responses. Stablecoins, like 3 responses. Like protocol dev being number 1 at nearly 25%. That is wild to me. But it goes to show it's reflective of the fact that people are very pro innovation and want to see new upgrades shipped. But when I think about where BCH is, I feel like protocol is the problem we don't have. Everything's going great there. Like that's not where we need the firepower. What do you make of that?
If we know, well, yeah, I agree with that sentiment. But if we do know that like the forks have tended to, well, yeah, all of the chains have kind of tended to, not all of the things have tended towards ossification in the BTC camp, and we expect like change is going to be harder as we onboard more people. I think it makes sense to have the fire under our ass for protocol development
now.
Yeah,
get in as much as you can. And well, that's true. It is important that we try and get in as much as we can. And that's why I think it was really good that last year we had like Abla. This year we've had a pretty solid upgrade. Velma was a big upgrade, and we got the big ints as well too. Next year is like that's another meaty upgrade for Layla. If it's it's all 4 including function, that's a meaty upgrade. There's I can understand. Like let's just get it all in now, and then maybe things will slow down as the rest of the ecosystem ramps up.
Yeah, because it's also the hardest thing that's gonna like compared to everything else on the list. Like everything can follow suit, right? Like, but if wallet development will hit a wall if the protocol is not upgraded, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I wonder how much this is related to also generalization. If people are coming in from other coins, people love protocol upgrades, like in general, except for BTC, all those other coins, like what's the name? Cardano and stuff. They're always shilling. We got a new upgrade, ETH. Oh, we got a new upgrade. Like people love upgrades at the protocol level, even if it changes nothing that they interact with on a daily basis. They just like to see that their coin that they're investing in is upgrade. I think people have a very intuitive sense of that because they think like, if this was a software company, I would want them to be regularly shipping upgrades on good stuff. Doesn't matter specifically, too much what it is. You just know that as a user, you're going to accrue benefits over time from the devs regularly shipping good upgrades and showing that they have the competence to do it, right? There's an execution premium for having a team that can upgrade because then you're like, oh, we're not going to get screwed over by quantum because the devs are competent and regularly ship upgrades and nothing gets disrupted.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some of that. Fostering or supporting new apps was second at 18.9%, which is very high. But I agree with that, though. I think I might have said this. Like, I think money going into flip starters and starting up new apps is really quite important. And then content creation at number 3. So that's good. I'm glad to see. Glad to see we're getting some support in that sense, or people think it should be a high priority, the visibility of the space. And then retail merchant onboarding as well, people still putting focus on those hubs as they should, to keep them alive. Stablecoin development was down to, you know, the fifth most option, when that's been a lot of chat in crypto this year has been around stablecoins, you know.
Yeah, that especially given how many people are using Moria in the previous questions, that kind of surprises me. But I suppose it's like priority based. If they're like, this thing already exists, why throw more money at it?
Yeah. So then this goes into the next slide, which was what could be the second highest priority. And stablecoins actually came out number one. Stablecoin development, 21.6%, followed by existing app development at 13.5%, protocol dev at 10.8%, network infrastructure at 10.8%, retail merchant onboarding at 10.8%, and social media and discussion at 13.5%. So I kind of put that out of order. So it was stablecoins, then existing apps and social media, and then protocol, network infra, retail merchants, and then we have some minority votes for mining infrastructure, content creation, physical meetups, supporting new apps, and wallet dev. So compared to the previous one, like wallet dev, mining infrastructure, meetups, nobody's really too interested in in that. But between these two charts, like stable coins is a big one, protocol node dev is a big one, and a combination of content creation are the big ones, really.
That's kind of surprising to me. Like, I'm surprised that it's not just like almost the same charts.
Okay. Like the spread you think should be similar, like just statistically, the first and second priority. Yeah. It makes sense to me that a lot of people, like protocol as the first priority makes sense, like you said, because if that is going well, then everything else can be built on top of it. And I was expecting, like stable coins to be a high priority, but it's just the second priority. It's the top priority after protocol, right?
Yeah, that's kind of surprising to me.
But it's like nobody really is like meetups. Everybody knows that's going to take a ton of resources. Probably not going to produce much results. Wallets, like we talked about, we've already got a few wallets. They're going great. That's not like where the problem is, basically. And then social media and discussion. It seems like there's still good interest in the physical hubs as well too. But I feel like people are more like, again, they're sort of in the mid tier of priorities, not like we definitely need this, which is we definitely need stability, we definitely need protocol node dev, and like mining is only mentioned in second priorities. Network infra only mentioned in second priorities. So I mean, network infra is a tough one because it's not hitting a very broad spectrum of people. Like it's essentially equivalent to protocol dev in a way, but people vote for protocol upgrades even if they are not devs. Whereas if they're probably nobody who's not a dev is like, we need more infrastructure. It just doesn't connect.
Yeah. I wonder if we were to separate these by like things that the average person would interact with, like the average new crypto user versus someone that's more deep in the weeds, like what would this spread be? Like, is 50% going for technical stuff and 50% going for, I guess like physical,
like everything else, promotion and media. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I just had a look. So last year, the top request was fostering or supporting new apps and flip starters, and then followed by physical meetups, existing apps, and wallet dev. So wallet dev has kind of faded into the background. Physical meetups has faded into the background a lot. And existing apps also, some support still for that, but that's not where we need it. Supporting new apps. So like last year, nobody thought we needed, well, 10% of people went for protocol dev. and this year it's 24.5%. So big change there. Damn. All right. Okay. Of the regular Bitcoin Cash podcast segments, I like the inclusion of this is just for me to keep a check on whether we're wasting our time with some of these segments that nobody likes. Guest intro and Bitcoin backstory, 78.8%, by far the most popular. So I'm glad we're doing a good job of bringing sort of human interest with the show. Price, 50%. That's partly for the historical record as well. Meme of the week, community comment of the week, message to the community, all in that 60% range. Thanks to contributors and shout outs, only 40%. And cut them all, let anarchy reign, 6.1%. So thanks to the contributors really underperforming here. I feel like I like that segment because it's right at the end. So if you're bored, you can always just switch off and tune out. But sometimes we come up with those funny little anecdotes, or somebody shouts out somebody who's not, regularly mentioned on the show and could use some credit, right? I think that's a good, like, that's the one most in danger of being cut from the show. But I feel like it's pulling its weight. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I think it makes sense. I think most like online creators that I watch that do shout outs do them at the end of the show. Or maybe this is like, I think I like the way that we do it, like the actually articulating and vocalizing, like, here are the people. But I've seen some where they'll just like roll almost like a credits section and it'll be like, thanks to our Patreons, and they'll do a little outro. Maybe like
True.
just a change of format would make it more interesting to people.
Yeah. I mean, the bar is already pretty high to be mentioned on that last slide. It's half a BCH, which is now several $100s. Like, we're not reading out everyone's names like willy-nilly. And I think it's really important that people who do, support the show get some reps and credit for that, because we couldn't do it otherwise, right? So yeah, anyway, good to see that people are really interested into the guest intro stuff still. I like that we start with that. And the other segments, I find message to the community has dropped off a bit. That was previously like by far the most popular. But in any case, good to see. Okay, all right. And our last question, BCH will be the global reserve currency. Yes, 59.5%, unsure 32.4%, and no 8.1%, which is fine because this year we had our no coiner and not BCH invested people as well too. So fair enough that they probably fall into that category. 59.5% yes. Last year it was 68%. So again, we've had a bit of a drop. We've had more people in the unsure category. So I feel like generalization is to blame, or not to blame, but the reason for that, the downstream reason.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, other feedback. We've got a bunch here on the slides. I'll just quickly mention a couple of them. People are saying I need to change my background. I'm working on it, guys. That will happen. It is getting to, the show is big enough that having like the bedroom vibes, maybe, not so professional anymore. So that's coming. Jet has a lot of great input. Would like to hear his ideas, opinions more often. So there you go. Speak up. Maybe we haven't done too many no guest episodes where people get to hear from you a bit more. Several people said things that were about they like that we cover the BTC drama, Bitcoin mechanic, all that kind of stuff. And I'm in two minds about that. On one hand, people like it, so we will obviously keep doing it. But like, as BCH grows, it should be getting away from that, right? We should not have enough time to really go into the weeds on their latest bickering. Like, I don't know how many times we can say, like, it's hijacked. You guys aren't going to ship an upgrade. Oh, look, it's 12 months later, and that was vindicated. Like, in essence, that's what we've been saying on the show over and over and over again for the last 4.5 years. And we've been correct every time. Like, the show only started. When did Taproot ship? It was shortly after. The show was in January of 21, right? So I think Taproot was in mid 21 or something like that. So we covered the launch of Taproot, and then ever since then have just been like, it's a mess, and it's just stayed that way.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's other podcasts where it's like people who are using BTC who will also talk about how it's a mess. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've also said before, like, that we were going to pull back on some of the BTC stuff, but people just keep asking for it.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that it will just become less relevant over time. But to the extent that our audience is growing with the number of people that are, like, it's a two-way cycle, right? Because if we talk more about it, maybe people who are more BTC invested feel it relevant to listen in. But then because they're listening, we also get more interest in those segments, right?
Yeah.
So like the fact that the number of people who are BTC invested has gone up and ETH invested has gone down doesn't surprise me, given that we've done some, excellent BTC journalism that you can't get anywhere else, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
In any case, we'll finish the show with a little bit of that today. So that's my nod to the users. Somebody said, try to figure out a way to stop acid reflux or whatever it is that happens once the show where you hiccup or hold back a burp. Makes you sound like you're tipping them back during the show. Yes, I will try and do that. The difficult, like, where I think that comes from is that I have to do so much speaking on the show. And if I'm trying to do a big monologue, I can't, like, I don't really want to like swallow into the mic too much or anything like that. So I'm trying to run on very little breath, and I just haven't nailed the breath control for that part of it. I feel like that's what happens with that. But yeah, I know. Sorry guys, I know you like listening in my ears, in the ears with Jeremy's voice. I'm always so conscious of that. But it's actually surprisingly tricky to. Also, when it gets later into the show, my diction gets less clear. I start off very clear, and then over time I get less clear by the end of 2 hours. So it is something I have in mind. I'll try and improve on that. Really,
I think where your voice is just so bassy too, it's easier to hear it, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's like it's harder than people think actually to speak for 2 hours, even with little, breaks in the middle. But to speak clearly, obviously I have a lot of listeners that are maybe not English native speakers, so I try and speak clearly and at a good speed for that. But also the slower I speak, the less we can cover as well too. There's a lot of factors to that as well. But yeah, well, it's the same as the background. It's something that it's like it doesn't need to be the world's best, but not having it actively be a problem is worth investing in. So yeah, I'll work on that. What else have we got here? Add privacy to Wallet Connect. Smart wallet single addresses are horrible. Must be easier for grandma, etc. So yeah, that's true. That's what we're talking about with the XO stuff, and I feel like that's going to happen. That's already happening, right? We've got XO coming, Cash Connect coming, Wallet Connect is sort of doing all right. Now we have the apps starting to take off that need it, Moria, Cauldron, BCH Bull, that are driving it. So I think that's on the way.
Yeah, I think that'll be an easy fix.
All right. Okay. And several people said that they appreciate the show, and thank you again. Thank you. I'm very glad that we have a passionate listener group, and a couple of people mentioned 1 minute blocks actually. So good stuff with that. Okay, let's do a little bit of drama to wrap off the show as requested by the users. So we have a clip here from Bitcoin Asia, which was about 2 weeks ago. My favorite, Eric Wall, starting to get a little bit frustrated with the state of what's been going on over there. This is such a telling clip. Let's hear what he had to say.
You're wrong, Shinobi. You're losing the battle. So I mean, the only moment that you guys had any opportunity to activate CTV and checksig from stack was when we were pushing opcat, and you could sort of swoop in and say, don't listen to Eric and Udi, they're going to enable MEV on Bitcoin. We're the good guys, and we're going to save you from like the MEV effects of OpCat. So let's do CTV instead, and everything's going to be fine. And then we said, okay, we'll take our foot off the gas pedal, and we'll let you guys, and this was back in April. I told you guys, we're going to let you guys go and activate CTV. And since then, like, nothing's happening. It's been 4 months now, and you guys are like, well, if you look at the discussions that are going on in like Bitcoin culture right now, like people are like running NOTS nodes, going after Gloria Zhao and Peter Woolley, and you're having nonsensical, useless art. Like the conversation is completely deteriorating. You guys are not doing a good job. You're not getting it closer at all. You're actually losing the control. Like, and even further than that, like all of this. This whole entire discussion is going to be completely irrelevant 1 year from now if the big elephant in the room here is that we're in the middle of a corporate takeover of over Bitcoin. Like, none of us are going to matter at all a year from now. Bitcoin treasury companies keep accumulating Bitcoin. People are not interacting with the chain. There's no fees. There's no activity on the chain. New users don't even interact with the chain. They're not going to care about like, why should we change?
Eric, I think you need to take a white pill and calm down.
Well, but how do we move forward, though? That is.
This is just music to my ears. Gosh, I love listening to this every time that I hear. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times now. But just every part of this is basically just the podcast vindication. I think about, we've got that clip from 2 years ago, maybe, of where they were trying to do OpCat, and then they were like, it's like the space race, and the BCH guys somehow figured it out, even though they're the idiots, but we're the Americans in the space race, whatever it was. Like, that was 2 years ago, and here they are years later, nothing's happening, nothing's working. And it's a little bit of inside baseball, because Eric can talk shit on Twitter all he wants. Here's the truth. I was at OpNext. I saw him there. I told him, you're not shipping cat. Like, what's going on here? And then he was like, nah, didn't really, I didn't play with him. But here we are 4 months later. The urgency has gone up massively, because now he's complaining about there's 4 months of nothing happening. They've wasted years and years and years where everyone was like, it's coming, it'll be the next year, etc., etc. Suddenly it's like crisis mode. 4 months, you haven't done shit. What's going on?
And then to hand wave it off as, oh, we're witnessing the corporate takeover. Huh.
Yes. Well, that's right. We told them about that too, of course, and they refused to listen. But it just goes to show, like, once the train has left the station, like, it's too late to jump on it, So of course, so they didn't ship 2024. We've got actually a little second clip here as well, Jet, if you could play that. Discussion carries on a little bit, and then, well, just to say, at the end of that clip, you can hear they were saying, like, so what now? That's the funny thing, is Eric is like starting to get riled up. Shinobi is trying to laugh it off because he doesn't have any solution to anything. He just wants to be condescending as per usual. And then the other guy's like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, we need some kind of plan. If this is not working, what are we going to do? And here's where they get to that.
Eric, OpCat would be part of that as well, right? Of the great script restoration.
Yeah, so I basically think of great script restoration as a like nice rebranding of like OpCat, like packages in a way that people more easly, drink without thinking that it's poison, because it's like been packaged very well by Rusty. It works for Blockstream. We used to. Where does it work now?
Well, I think the logic behind that is, we know most of the things people would want to do with OpCat if we activated that on its own right now. And a lot of the other opcodes that would be reactivated in the Great Script Restoration just provide like simpler, more efficient and concise ways of doing those things. So that rather than the clunky, block space inefficient OpCat versions, people could just directly use those other opcodes in combination with OpCat to just keep things more cost-effective, easier to ensure that they're going to behave and operate correctly, like things along those lines.
But great script restoration is not going to happen in like 4 years, realistic. OpCat could happen like next year if we wanted to. So it's like thinking about upgrades like 4 years into the future when we have no idea what the consensus climate or prospects are going to be of changing the protocol. I find it like a moot point, to be honest with you.
So we've been talking.
So they're just cooked. That's what you're hearing here, is that in 2024, Eric and Udi went out and said, we're going to ship OpCat this year. And then, of course, unintentionally or not, seemingly unintentionally, that was a complete hoax. They did not ship OpCat. Now, 2025, they doubled down on that. Guys, this is the year of OpCat. There was that, he was posting it at the start of the year. We're definitely going to ship OpCat. This is the last chance for OpCat. Etc. Here we are in September, and he's given up. You even say he's talking about cat next year. So in their mind, it's already cooked for this year, which of course it is, because as we've explained on the show, however many times, it's going to take at least 6 months to have an activation window and everything. And that's once you've even got the client and stuff ready, which they still haven't done. Like it's just disaster. But and then that's where things really are starting to dawn on them that, okay, if OpCat wasn't last year, it isn't this year. It's like very vaguely slipping away from us next year as everybody devolves into fighting about knots. The Great Script Restoration is 4 years away, which is probably realistic in the sense that if things were functioning well, you could, like, for instance, the Velma upgrade was, you know, at least 1 year in preparation, but really it was the result of ongoing work over the, and then now we've got the Layla stuff coming on top of that, right? So these kind of bigger upgrades, they take multiple years to cook, even if you're doing everything right, which they aren't. And so at that point, it's like, does Eric really believe that in 2029 the BTC community is going to be fired up for Rusty Russell's block stream? No, like, what? It's not going to matter. As he says himself, the corporations are coming, Bitcoin treasury companies, all the usage has moved on to other chains. Like, crypto does not have 4 years to wait, and they're not going to. And by that stage, it's just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. So this is all logic that has been explained on this show repeatedly, with it all documented at every stage. And he's only now starting. I mean, I'm glad it's happening now. I'm glad it's not another 1 or 2 years before they wake up. But I just think the shift is so remarkable from the high and mighty, you know, end of 2023, early 2024 vibes of like, these stupid B caches, we're just going to ship our OpCat and CTV, and then we'll have the better programming and we'll show you guys, etc. And we were like, you're not going to do that. And then 2 years later, we shipped Velma, we shipped Abla, Layla is locked, or going to be, you know, very soon, looking like a banger upgrade. That's before you get into cash tokens, all the stuff that we'd already done before. Like, it's just, they're not competitive. And it took so long for them to clue in, but it has finally hit them. At least a little bit.
Would you go
That's
on
right.
stage and be like, to Bliss and be like, guys, I think we're fucked? Or would you just not go? Like,
well, what do you mean? Like Eric clearly knows. He's figured it out finally. Shinobi still doesn't know. He actually still does not know. But the other guy is, what's his name? Aaron Van Weerdem or whatever. I think Eric has like figured it out. And meanwhile, the ball has moved past them anyway. It's now predictably, if you're not shipping upgrades, people lose interest eventually. It's not the argument of the day anymore, and people have moved on to fighting about knots nodes now, which is what we said on the mechanic episode 151, where we said this is going to be the distraction that is going to take everyone's eye off the ball of doing an upgrade and turn it into ossified by default, which is what's happened. And now mechanic and etc., they're all arguing about the filters, and mechanic has now, even he has had the goalposts moved on him, where he is now like, well, inscriptions are bad and I don't want to, you know, them, but they're better than the op returns that we're going to get. So now the goalposts have been shifted on him. He's now fighting one even layer further. They're not fighting about an upgrade. They're not fighting about fixing the inscriptions. They're fighting about the op return filters. like by the time any of this is sorted out, which it probably is never going to be in an actual sensible way, it's too late.
Yeah, I just don't understand why Eric would even be there if he actually understands what's going on.
Well, that's right. At a certain point, he will give up and have to try a new strategy, like switch to BCH or rage quit or something. But oh, I see your point. I was wondering why would like what were you saying about Bliss? Okay, I get it. You're saying that if he had truly figured it out, he would know it's hopeless and put his energy somewhere more productive, right?
Yeah. This is like holding on for dear hope that's like the plea and the desperation will come across to someone, and maybe like, you know, someone will be like, this is, we need to do that, but it's dead in the water.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I just I don't know. I feel there's a bit of a demoralization process as well, because even if those BTC guys, some of them are paying attention, shout out hello guys, but some of them are not, right? And the ones who are, slowly the word has been filtering back. Like, you can't watch Bliss stream. Oh guys, that was another upgrade. Great, good job. Let's all go home. You can't watch that multiple years in a row and then switch over to this on the other channel and think this like anything but this is a clown show. Like, what's going on here? How are we so incompetent? And it's been easy for them to kid themselves, because when you have like Ethereum, if they switch on an Ethereum conference and the ETH guys are shipping an upgrade, they can say, these are these centralized shitcoiners that change new stuff every week that doesn't matter, that are full of proof of stake and scammers. Fuck those guys. Like, who cares if they're doing upgrades? But with us, it's different, because with us, there's no pre-mine. There's no Vitalik calls the shots, because the FUD about Roger has gone. But even if, obviously it's not true, but even if it were the case that Roger was, how would he be keeping this all going for year after year after year after year? He doesn't have a Satoshi pre-mine. He didn't, there's no like cope about that. So it's just so demoralizing. It must be, right, to watch this happen. But it takes time, because if they switch, like that's what I was saying about the exponential curves before. They're not even paying it. They weren't even paying attention several years ago. Then some of them started to pay attention, but maybe they saw ABLA happen. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they heard something vaguely about cash tokens. Okay, whatever, But then once you're still just bickering about CTV, and then it's like, wait, another upgrade shipped, and then because if you're following both conversations, the BCH conversation, it moves on, whereas the BTC one just goes in circles, and it's like, which we tell them all the time, every time. Eventually, it dawns on them, right, that's how it looks from the outside.
It really, like, and the outfits and like the bullshit doesn't help either. Like, it's so like, I would expect more absurd characters in BCH, to be quite honest. Like, people doing like weird costumes, or like just obviously socially inept like dressing and stuff like that. But like everyone was well dressed at Bliss, right? Like, I think the suit is a really good addition to the presentation there. Like, but yeah, I think the Shadow Wizards thing is fun, but seeing this and the absurdity of the Shadow Wizards is like, is this just nihilism? Is this just cope? Like,
well, the thing is, we don't. You want to keep crypto weird in a way, right?
Yeah.
I like that crypto has these people, characters, and people can be dressed up and stuff like that. I think that's good. You want to have that, but you also want to have like, this is a room full of competent adults that are, shipping $1 trillion software or whatever, right? But the reason they can get away with this in BTC in a way is because they don't matter, is because they have these panels year after year after year of sitting on stage talking about this stuff, but it's so far removed from any of the things that would seriously need to happen. Like, the people who are involved, like, most people don't care. They're just like, BTC is fine, don't upgrade it. And the people who are involved know that, okay, this is like the quote unquote podcasters or whatever. Like, Shinobi and Eric have no power or ability to actually get an upgrade rolling, because as we've seen, they've spent the last years whining about it and nothing has happened. Like the actual politics that goes on in BTC Core and at the protocol devs, whatever, like Mechanic and Luke, they are much closer to hitting home on that, right? That's they're still not maybe right at the heart of the issue, but they're closer. So that's where they can get away with it. Is okay if he's sitting on stage upset, like, you mad, bro? Basically. In any case, I wonder when they'll. Well, that's why we run that poll 1 year ago. Who is going to publicly defect? Is that going to happen? What do you think? 1 year from now? I didn't even rerun that poll because it's kind of a bit irrelevant. But are we going to see those defectors finally?
Moon Settler.
Yeah, well, just quick mention of Moon Settler. We've got community comment of the week. Speaking of him, quote, he said, "Can't believe the sheer amount of cognitive hours this consumed in aggregate when it means basically no difference either way. Bitcoin is truly doomed." This is talking about the knots situation. And then, quote, "Meanwhile, Bitcoin Cash is deploying their equivalent of great script restoration, reworking script cost calculation and VM limits. They're adding loops and reusable functions to script. Roughly in the same amount of time people here have been arguing about this fucking nonsense," end quote. And that just really summarizes it, right? Like, I took this as being great news for the BCH community because it's very heartening to hear that. It feels some of the time like we're doing the right thing and nobody is noticing, right? But the thing is, some people are noticing. They're maybe just not saying it, or it's not being validated. Life is often like that, like if you go to the gym and you're working hard in the gym, it might be a year or a year and a half until you see a friend that you haven't seen in a long time and they go, "Oh man, you're looking way fitter than you used to be," or something like that. That payoff only comes after you've been doing the right thing for so long that you've even forgotten like that they're about it. It's just normal. And then that's when somebody who's coming in from outside goes, "Holy crap, like this is a lot of good work," right?
Sorry, I just saw this cat, the chat come in. The Meek will inherit Bitcoin. Yeah, and that is us cashies.
Yeah, I mean, there's that whole thing about Meek being not like in the common sense of Meek as in like timid, but Meek as in somebody who has a sword but chooses not to use it, like who basically has restrained violence, like the capacity for violence, but doesn't use it, which was the original use of the word or whatever. I mean, I think there's an element of that. It increasingly feels like that in the sense of I am not spending too much time. Like with Eric, for instance, it's so interesting because I made that whole thread and stuff and harassed him for ages to get his attention and get him to look into BCH, etc. And he finally did, and it still didn't click for him. Like there's no point trying to talk to him. A lot of these B2C guys, if I'm commenting on their threads, it's just like, it's here in BCH. When are you going to show up? Yeah. There's no debate. There's no conversation. There's nothing we can say to any of them. Like, how many times that guy even, what was his name? Saunter or whatever his name was. There's that guy who was like, "I'm so sick of the cashies being on our threads being like, Knots is, join us in BCH, Knots guys, because we hate Core 2, like we told you so." And then for CTV, it's like, "Well, we told you so. We have CTV," and that's it. And why is that there's no comeback to that? How many times can we say it before they just realize we're right, or we give up trying, which is what's basically happening? It's like moving on,
Yeah, I don't think. I think I think money talks to these people. I don't think there's any technical or community. I think Moon Settler, yes, but Moon Settler and I think Reardon Code are the two that I have the most optimism for.
But you're right. It really is just going to be the price spiking.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everyone will rewrite history in their minds and suddenly be interested in BCH and forget that they'd spent 8 years saying it was shit and these idiots and et cetera, and suddenly be like, "Yeah, no, I always thought that, it was good that we had one chain ossifying and one chain upgrading so we could let it play out in the market and see, which way was the correct way. I'm really glad that that's, of course, how we wisely decided as a community that would happen. That will be the line, instead of, oh wait, I spent 7 years shitting on these guys and crowing about how I dumped all my coins, only to realize we were the bad guys. Our coin is ossified and stuck. It's taken over and never going to change the world, and it's time for us to defect. So I'm going to do it dishonestly, although they might even convince themselves. That's the funny thing, often when people have those kind of copes, they actually, maybe not at the deepest subconscious level, but on some level, they convince themselves more than they convince anyone else. Like, they're saying it out loud to try and convince themselves,
Yeah, I think that'll be the case too.
All right, well, we'll see. That's a little bit of drama there for everybody that has been following the BTC stuff. But yeah, Layla is looking good. So, message to the community. Do you have a message to the community? The listeners have been wanting to hear from you. What do you have to say to them?
I mean, shit's going good. The fact that I didn't, I have nothing, I have nothing to complain about, which is wild, because 6 years in crypto, there was always something to complain about. Now we're almost 6 years later, and it's like, yeah, we're good. We're good. Things are great. Let's get these upgrades out. Let's demoralize the opposition by how fucking sick we're doing.
Yeah, I think, we can just take it up a level. It's really where it's at. Like, that, all those debates and all that, it's all been won. There's no point really rehashing that. But at the same time, it's that 10x. We do have to produce results. I mean, having a better protocol is a nice start. Having a 10x better protocol is a very good start. But that's only going to sway maybe a couple of protocol developers, if that. To sway users en masse, the whole thing needs to be 10x better, start to finish. It needs to be the wallet experience, needs to be the technology, needs to be the apps, needs to be the developer experience for people getting involved. That's where Blaze kind of comes into it. And where that wavering is starting to happen. But I think maybe we're still 6 months, a year, maybe even 18 months away from just the floodgates opening for BCH to become the story. Everyone what's happening in BCH? Holy shit, have you seen what these blah, blah, blah?
So I guess my message is, when that time does come, be prepared for people to bring their paranoia with them. People are going to be like, well, BTC could get captured with as big as it was. They're going to say the same shit here. And we need to kind of let them know, we've already done 3 splits. We know how to deal with this now. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's not don't worry about it, but we will need to go through revisiting that history, explaining and inducting new people, because that resilience fades over time unless we maintain it, which is why it's good that the chip process is working so well and the upgrades are locking in ahead of time and so forth. So that's all smooth, but that it only it's easy to forget, right? It's only the result of a lot of work that we're all constantly doing to be in consensus, have the discussions about the chip, and that's going to get sort of harder to do as there are more people involved. But it's just, you have to keep pouring coal into that fire. You have to keep lifting weights at the gym week after week after week. It's the same way for the BCH community and the consensus process. And we're going to need to maintain that and help newcomers understand the importance of it.
Yeah. The don't worry about it. I mean, don't fall susceptible to the unnecessary paranoia. Because we've seen what actually happens now, right? It's not like when the BTC guys come, we're going to have to all of a sudden be like, oh, Blockstream. Because I think they're going to have to suffer from the sunken cost fallacy of if BTC loses some of these prominent voices, the corporations are going to be like, well, what do we have to do? But they're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's not much that anyone can do in BTC anymore.
Yes.
So I don't think we have to worry so much about people like Blockstream coming over to BCH as well. I think it'll probably be like new voices popping.
Well, it'd be so easy to call them out.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, you can't just be like, if Adam Back is suddenly like, hey guys, I realized BCH is actually the way. They were doing the right. Like, you can see right now, he's in the middle of trying to sort of, again, upset the apple cart perfectly between the Knots and those other guys. He's pissed off. Luke and Mechanic have lost trust in him, but now he's trying to edge not too much away from the other. He was trying to be sort of neutral for so long. He did a great job of drawing it out. Hats off, Adam. Another masterclass in, political grandstanding from 2023. Literally, this all started with the Taproots in 2023. It took more than 2.5 full years for it all to blow up into an actual problem where he was able to ride the line. And now he's even still trying to back and forth it a little bit, but he's now starting to lose credibility for being wishy-washy, at least on one side, and now kind of on both sides. But in any case, yeah, he can't, the credibility has been completely rebuilt. That's why I like so much about BCH. Okay, it had to go through that cleansing fire one time for the community to learn how things work.
Yeah.
But now we're in a good spot. And also it gave time for those people to reveal themselves who were either not on board with the vision that we all had. Maybe they had their own vision or understanding, or were susceptible to groupthink and following the crowd, or too cowardly to speak up. Those people have all been filtered out. Now, of course, it's incumbent on us who were not in that camp to, we've got to not drop the ball now. But that's, again, that's just ongoing work, I'd say.
God, I would love so much if Adam Back was like, I'm a bee catcher now. I would love to see just the chaos that would ensue.
It'll happen one day. But he's got it. Yeah, he's busy. And then
immediately gets blocked by everyone involved with Bitcoin ever. Like the Bitcoin guys being like, fuck you. Bitcoin guys that have turned to BCH being like, oh, you're not doing this again. And then the BCH guys who have been in this space long enough to be like, no, fuck you.
Well, then he can just retire off to his island and, sit with his 500 million or whatever, right? Like, he doesn't actually care about any of this, really. Like, the whole thing's a big, here I'm just massively speculating at this point, but, why is he so driven to try and destroy Bitcoin? Well, because he got paid a lot of money, but maybe also because he's a bit jealous that Satoshi figured it out and he didn't. Like, let's be real. If he was actually out to help, I'll leave it at that. Okay. All right. One thing quickly, people can check out the BCH Bullet at the bchbullet.substack.com. That's been going really well, actually. That's been a great innovation from the podcast. Like, it's been very well received. I've been very happy with how that's going. Our FundMe contributors for the latest block of 10, Majamali, Marcelo, Jeremy's made of whatever profits are made of, Molecular, the show we love, at Cash Stamps, keep building and broaching, Erdogan Talk, economics writer, Big Hair, love the show, love your hair, Milton Friedman, Purely Peer, purelypeer.cash, discover the thrill of quest hunting, find hidden cash drops and collect BCH, Ryan Giffen, keep it up, boys, DGN and FurQ, fresh hardcore BCH rap anthem coming at you, the Green Compound Kids, get it at https://nwb.cash, and Cash Dragon, pump it up. Support appreciation, our donators, thank you very much as always, and our patrons, Ricky and Kyle, and our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Thank you all for listening. Our start guide, FAQ, and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com.
I got all the BCH Bull stuff today.
The swag, the merch. Okay, yes. Big shout out to them. They're amazing. And they have some good premiums, by the way, too. Recently, I was cashing in on some of those, like even, it hasn't been seen in a while, but 10 or 15% negative green premiums. Let me see if there's any right now. Looks like maybe not, but keep it. Oh, Ethereum. You can get negative 6% premium on 180 day
right now.
on ETH shorts right now. So, that's I always think of it as like tipping the odds in your. It's like the house, Sometimes the odds are just a little bit in your favor. Oh, okay. I'll get in there. Yeah. Thank you to them. And yeah, try out Celine Wallet at Celine.cash. Any other final shout outs from you, Jet?
Shout out to like the rest of the podcast team, like CM Works. That was a fantastic, like, quick turnaround. And yeah, I mean, I interact with you guys more now than I think like the broader scene too. So I'm having a good time.
Things are going all right. Yeah. My shout out, also to them, Shan, Omar, CM Works, and Robert. Also check out Blaze. I feel like at some point, because obviously we're just shilling all this different stuff at the end, maybe that's why people are getting fed up with that segment. It's because we have so many different links and things that we're involved in to try and shill. But Blaze will be coming up soon. So please, everybody, get interested in that. I'm hoping to see a lot of the BCH regulars, enrolled in that as hackers and so forth. Of course, we have people who are also involved as mentors and sponsors and all that. So it's a big effort, but please get involved in that at bchblaze.cash. And I had something else which is now slipping my mind. Doesn't matter. That's it. Do your chip endorsements also. We're seeing a lot of momentum with people putting out their chip endorsements and so forth. But now's your chance if you want to get in with a public endorsement or even a neutral or even a disapprove. Now is the chance to do that with lock-in on the sort of medium-term horizon, not the immediate horizon, but the medium-term horizon. So that will do it, I think, for the show. And our outro song today is from Joel Valenzuela, the legend himself, with what's it called? The Circle of Exit Liquidity. This one's a good one. Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all.
Cryptonana, exit liquidity,
dump it all.
hodl nana, dump it all. Chain and blinking, step into the trade. There's more to lose than can never be won, more to dump than can never be saved. Influencers, tweets, and the noobs all follow, buying high, selling low, what a game. But the boomers know, and Sailor, he knows that the dump is coming. It's all the same. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars. But the influencers always win with the Lambos and their cars. So beware of the pump and the inevitable dump, for the cycle continues and the news get wrecked. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl dump it all. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl dump it all. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, dump it all.
dump it all.